In this video, I'm going to shim the print bed so that it is more perpendicular to the rails. A lot of people get by just fine without doing this step, but if you find that you're still having bed leveling issues or other weird inaccuracies in your printer post-calibration, then you may find it worthwhile to do this cheap alignment. The idea here is that when the printer tells the print head to move, it does a lot of math internally to tell the effector exactly how to move. This makes a lot of assumptions about the overall geometry of the printer. One of those assumptions is that the bed is perfectly square to the rails. Now, Dennis Brown from the Facebook group has a full bed switch replacement mod, not to be confused with these bed clips that I've already installed, that also, in addition to being a bed switch replacement, it allows for straightforward fine-tuning of this alignment. And he also even created his own little special tool to measure the squareness to the rails. However, unless you're already an electronics hobbyist with the skills and parts on hand, then you may be like me and decide to postpone that particular upgrade. Thankfully, Dennis wrote up a less accurate shimming method that can hopefully get your print bed shimmed to the point where it's good enough. I'll copy paste the exact text of that video into the description. So for this alignment, you need a permanent marker, you need some index cards, some paper, got my script, you need some scissors, maybe a flashlight, but my light here will do just fine. And you need some foil tape. And you need some sort of reasonably accurate right angle tool. I have a Machinist square, but for the level of accuracy of this alignment, which is basically just sticking index cards and paper underneath the bed, any reasonably accurate right angle tool will do. Just go to Harbor Freight or whatever and pick up one that will fit. So the permanent marker, what you might be wondering for, when I get to the point where I actually take the bed off, I'm going to need to make some sort of marking on the bottom of the print bed underneath it so that I can keep up with which way I had the printer oriented during this alignment. Because ultimately what we're going to do is we're going to create stacks of paper shims and tape them under the bed with one piece of foil tape. And so, now if you notice, the goal is to make the final print surface perpendicular to the rails. In my case, that means a fully heated bed with the bed clips calibrated. However, Dennis instructs us to do this alignment with the bed clips removed, most easily done before you ever install these bed clips. And so yeah, that might not be perfectly perpendicular with your final print surface, but for the level of accuracy of this alignment, it's perfectly okay. I just got done doing this on another print bed, and I ended up with good results doing it with the clips removed, and then I tested it again after I readjusted the bed clips. It was all fine. Unfortunately, I lost the video footage on that one, so you're going to get to watch me do it on my other Monoprice Mini Delta 3D printer, which wasn't off nearly as bad. The last print bed that I did, I had to stick 4 index cards in between the plate and the bed switch on one side, and then 1 index card on the other, and that was a significant improvement. So if an index card is 0.2 millimeters, that's 0.8 of a millimeter. You're getting close to 1 millimeter being off. Anyways, let's start off. Let's take this square tool. What I want to do is I want to stick it all the way up against one of these rails. Then I want to slowly lower it until it just touches the build plate. I do not want to rock the build plate. I do not want to move it around. I just got done telling you that Dennis does this with the bed clips removed. I'm going to go ahead and do my initial check with the bed clips installed, because if you don't have to do this alignment, why go through the trouble of removing everything? So what I'm looking for is I'm looking for the tower where this tool touches the bed closest to the rails and then lifts up towards the edge. And when I find that tower, I'm going to not put any shims under that side and put shims under the other two sides. So let's start opposite of the LCD. So let me just maybe move my hand a bit so you see I'm pushing the tool straight against the rail, slowly lowering it. I can feel it touching the bed now, so I'm going to look from the side. I'm going to take this index card and so I can't even get an index card under this tower. And if you measure all three towers and you can't slide an index card under any, I'm going to go ahead and say you probably won't gain a whole lot by doing this alignment, or you might not gain anything at all, so maybe don't bother. So let's try this other rail. I can definitely slide an index card under this side, no problem. Then as I get closer to this tower, I can no longer do it, so I'm thinking the tower to the right of the LCD might be the one that does not get any shims. When I looked on this side, it was pretty flat, but I could still see a bit of light shining through here. That's the purpose of the flashlight. So let's, just to be sure, check this last tower. Let's just push it up against the rail, slowly lower it. Yeah, I can still see from the light that it's touching the build plate on the outside. And let's see if I can slide an index card through. So when I tested it before starting this video, I could. So now I'm just barely touching. Oh, that index card's lifting up. So yeah, when I go to a flat index card, I can definitely feel something under here. So now begins trial and error. First, I need to move these bed clips out of the way, so I'm going to loosen the nut up. Oops, drop that. Alright, now that I've done that, I'm going to go back and double check my squareness again. I'm just going to eyeball it. Make sure I'm getting more or less the same sort of results. Yeah, it's looking like that's all going to be about the same. And oh, I got to move to this roll because you want to make sure you don't want to touch the bed clip, you just want to touch the rail and the bed. Alright, perfect. So you know what, so now we're just going to stick shims under these two sides, because on this side has the highest edge of the bed, so I need to shim these other two up until the bed's evenly square to the rails on all three towers. So I'm going to start off just sticking an index card shim here. I'm just going to slightly lift up on this tower. Alright, and I pushed this index card strip all the way up until it touched the bed post. I cut this to be, roughly 1 centimeter, because you eventually want to cut this down to be a 1 by 1 centimeter square when you tape it up underneath the bed. We'll get to that later. So now that I've just put one shim under there, let's see what's going on. So I can still kind of move an index card right there. See what's going on with this tower. Can't really get anything under this guy. Let's check here again. I can still slide an index card under here, so I'm going to go ahead and add another shim right here to go with this guy. So let's make sure that this is, make sure that's between bed quip. Well, let's see. Try to slide an index. Now I can no longer slide an index card under this side. I can still barely slide one under there. Let's check this back tower that was never giving me any problems. You know what, just to see what happens, I'm going to take a regular sheet of paper and push it under this side, because I couldn't quite get an index card under there, but maybe if I would have tried, I could have slid a piece of paper under. But this is all a trial and error process, so you just keep trying until you get a winning combination. Alright, so now let's see where we're at. Oops, I didn't mean to pull that. I meant to grab an index card, so let's reposition that. Okay. Alright, I can no longer, can't get any index cards under that side. Let's try this side. Actually, I can't get an index card under anywhere now, so I think the magic combination for this bed is one sheet of paper opposite of the LCD, two index cards to the left. Every bed's different, but it looks like that's going to be the winning combo for mine. So now I need to cut up tiny squares and secure them in place with HVAC tape underneath the bed. So two index cards in the front left and one sheet of paper in the back. So before I go any further, I need to take my Sharpie and I need to mark something at the bottom. Let's be careful not to rip these wires out. So I want to write, let's just do L. That's a crappy L, but you know what? I'm recording this for myself, so I'll know that scribble means LCD. And if I forget, I can go back and watch my own video. There. Who needs words? Alright. So, I need to get two index cards under this side right here. So let's lift this up. So two index cards right here. So you can, maybe I bumped the camera. I've got my bedpost here, so let's cut my little index card squares. I've still got tape on it from when I tried to record the last video and I lost it because I'm an idiot. You know what? Maybe I'll just reuse this piece of HVAC tape that's sitting around. Is it big enough? No. I'll just have to cut a fresh piece. That's fine. Let's cut a piece. Well, you know what? I can go ahead and line up an index card how I want it to be lined up on this tape. Of course, HVAC tape's going to have some amount of thickness associated with it, but by the time it's compressed, it doesn't amount for a whole lot. Alright, so now I can cut that tape. Let's cut that guy. Let's see. So might be hard to tell, but I've got at least some tape on all sides, but I've got less tape on this side, and the side with less tape is the one I'm going to be pushing up against the bedpost because the bed leveling switch is located right there next to the bedpost. So with my LCD on that side, if I do that, yep, I've got a 2 index card shim right there. And now I just need 1 paper shim on the back, and I should be good. Let me make sure it's actually paper, only about a 1 centimeter square, maybe smaller if I can get away with it. Now let's trim it up. Okay. So there's a sheet of paper sitting there. Now let's cut a piece of HVAC tape. Let's see what I can do. Stick this foil tape on. Okay, I used just a little bit too much foil tape because I don't want to be touching the bed heater, because you have to be careful when you add stuff underneath the bed, because with the bed switches being underneath and the bed has to get pushed down to activate those switches, you don't want to interfere with any of that. So you have to take great care whenever you add stuff like that underneath the bed. Okay. I think that's good. So I've got my 1 sheet of paper here and my 2 index cards there. Let's make sure we tuck these wires up underneath the bed really well. You don't want any of that interfering. Got my permanent marker squiggle. Tell me which side that needs to be on. Alright, now I need to move these bed clips out of the way. I'm just going to push down, make sure that I press the tape so that it compresses all that it's going to compress. Maybe it'll compress more over time. I don't know. Now I'm going to do another quick eyeball check, make sure that I'm getting consistent results. Always double check your work. See, I can't get an index card through, and can't get an index card through, and look at that. Can't get an index card through anywhere. So I would say that's pretty good. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to plug this bad boy in. I am going to readjust the bed clips, but I'm plugging it in first because I want to make sure mine hooked up to a power button, so let's do that. I want to make sure, oop, I about fell. I want to make sure that I readjust the bed clips and double check it again, just to make sure I'm happy with the final result. I'll just heat it up to 60 for now. I could heat it up more, but I'm going to go back and I need to recalibrate this machine since I've added a new effector anyway. I'm back now and I've heated up my bed, I've calibrated the bed clips, and now I'm going to once again double check my squareness to the rails with my new shims. That side's pretty good. Side's pretty good. Can't get an index card in it. This side's also pretty good. There, wonderful. I've shimmed it pretty close to being square to the rails, at least within enough accuracy to where I can't slide an index card between my machinist square and the bed. So I'm going to call that good enough.